And we are now joined by no stranger to Noon Edition, Dr. Bill Angel. And we're talking Republican debate, which is coming up in just a few weeks. But I guess before we get to the actual debate, this week's actions with the indictments of former President Donald Trump, they're kind of throwing a little bit of a monkey wrench into things for him.
Well, to some degree, yes. But I mean, there was some, he was indicating that before, last week or so, that he might not even show up for the debate because there was nothing for him to gain by going. Well, now he's got a great platform and a great platform for the other candidates, too, to see how they react to yesterday's news.
It's going to be interesting because we're going to have a full house when it comes time for that debate with Nikki Haley and Tim Scott and Chris Christie, and the list just seems to go on and on. Is there anyone kind of making a little bit of a run? I know that Trump's numbers are separating him from the rest of the field, but who do you feel is second right now?
Well, you got DeSantis as a second, but DeSantis has made some self-forced errors, firing his staff, for example, and the whole business with about slavery actually provided benefits for people and so forth. He's made some mistakes, and he hasn't really been able to pick up many traction. I guess the question is, who's third then? It's DeSantis and Trump. Who's third? And that's where you got people like Tim Scott and Nikki Haley. Asa Hutchinson is one to keep an eye on, governor of Arkansas. And then, of course, Chris Christie, who's the one anti-Trumper in the whole crew.
So do you feel like eventually we're going to see some of these potential presidential candidates linking arms and saying, well, this is going to be my running mate because they're not really showing any ability to become president?
Well, they could. Basically, Nikki Haley had made him implied that she's interested in the vice presidency as a vice presidential candidate. But the one candidate I think we should watch on the 23rd is Chris Christie, because he has real animus. There's real animus between him and Trump.
Yeah, he's not hiding it.
going back to when he was Trump's transition director back in 2016, you know, he got dumped. Unceremoniously dumped from that job, and he's held it against Trump for a long time. So there's no love lost between those two. And so he might be the one anti-Trumper who could get a voice and draw some blood.
Is it just me, or does it feel like these debates are kind of coming a little earlier than usual? It just feels like everything's pushed up.
Well, they were, for the Democrats, of course, in 2020, it was, they were about this time of the year. We had debates in the summer of 2020. So, and that's where people like Kamala Harris made a really splash. And that's the other thing about these debates. Sometimes somebody you've never heard of or never gave much thought to makes a big splash, and they pick up momentum. And so somebody like Tim Scott, for example, could make a run at this after this debate. We just have to wait and see.
What do you think the American people are wanting to hear in these debates?
Oh, I think they want to hear essentially about the future of the economy, of course. And they also want to hear about the idea of unity. We're tired of all this partisanship, bitter partisanship going between the two parties where they don't seem to want to talk to each other or compromise with each other on anything. And I think American people are wanting to hear more of that and less of the vitriol that oftentimes accompanies politics in recent years.
I know that former President Trump has mentioned on several occasions, I really don't understand why we're sending so much money over to Ukraine. He's really been kind of against Biden giving so much money to Ukraine. Do you feel like that's going to become a real talking point here?
It could be an issue. Of course, Ukraine was brought up in 2020 as well with the whole issue with Zelensky and Trump and trying to pay him off to support him. But the fact of the matter is, I think that the Republican Party has always been strong on national defense, and for the most part, most Republicans are supportive of the support we give to Ukraine. So Trump's kind of in his own island there on that one.
I think in years past, when we have this first or even second debate, when you've got so many candidates, people don't really pay attention. They want to wait until people start to drop out. But I think this year there's a lot more interest in this.
I think there is, and particularly, I mean, you have to be wondering about what's going to happen if the indictment goes through and the trial is going on during the election. I mean, all of that creates drama that a lot of people would just not like to deal with. I mean, the drama should be about the presidential campaign, but the drama is being stepped on, if you will, by the indictments and also by the potential trials that Trump will have to face.
Dr. Bill Angel, we appreciate you. And coming up next, we've got medical news, so don't go away.